Hello everyone. Today we're going to tackle this painting. It's actually a painting by master artist Vincente Fuentes, and we are going to copy that, see if we can do it, just to practice our stormy skies. We did it in class and mine turned out like this. I wasn't that pleased with it, so I thought we would try again. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off where the darkest areas are on my paper. Here, can't really see my pencil marks, but we have the structure already there. Okay, so these parts here, pencil, just mark them a little bit. You don't want the pencil marks too dark, and you definitely don't want any along the top, so maybe not along the top of that, just enough to tell you where that particular area is. That's the plan. And what I've done is I've put it on my paper here, and today I'm painting with Saunders Waterford cold press 140 pound, and this paper likes to absorb the water and it likes to stay wet a long time. So we're going to wet both sides, and then we're going to dab off a little bit under the clouds, because when we did it, this cloud here kept having a circular bottom and it didn't really look like it should. We're going to try that, dab it off so that we don't want a hard edge, we still want a soft edge around there, but let's see if that helps us at all today. I've wet both sides of the paper. I've mixed up you can use ultramarine, I've also got anthraquinone, either one is good. I've mixed those two up. I have a very light gray, a warm gray that I mixed up with a bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine, creates a lovely warm gray. And then I've mixed up some cobalt blue. So that's pretty much what I'm going to use on this, and I'm going to have a spray bottle ready in case things start to dry, and I'm also going to have some paper towel ready so that when I get to this cloud I can stop it from bleeding down so much. I will tilt my paper to start, and then as we go through we might level it up, especially when we get to that really dark cloud. We're going to start as we did before with the lightest lights, and up in the sky here there's a fair amount of cobalt that I see. It's probably a bit of cobalt and a bit of ultramarine, and we're just going to add that in kind of in a wispy fashion, similar to what you see there. I'm just doing my lights, and if you want you can put some other colors in there too. I might put some of this light gray that I mixed up into that corner. Okay, so I'm trying to just keep with the lights for now. That's the top of my sky, and the benefit of this is it defines the cloud structure that goes over top of there. I might just use a little bit more of the gray just to make sure I've really defined that. Add a bit more blue. I think the darker this part is, the better off you'll be. Okay, so that's that part. Okay, and that should start moving around and flowing a bit. And then I want to define where my other clouds are. So I'm just going to use cobalt blue. There's one right here that kind of goes along like this. It has this sticking out here. And I've got a lot of water on my brush, so I probably should have dried that off a little bit, but let's just continue on. Okay, now it looks to me like I've got some dry edges already, so I can soften these Okay. I can give my paper a spritz. That will help as well. Okay. And then I want to define the other clouds that I see. So there's one that comes kind of across like that and goes in here. There's this cloud, of course, and it's got a very dark bottom. Okay, and then kind of bordering that cloud is this one and this one here. Okay, and then there's one that comes up like this. Okay, now that one's really quite gray, so I could probably put that gray in now. Okay, and then this one kind of comes down, but it looks like there's another grayish one that goes like this. And something like that. There's a bit of a gap there. I can put some of that gray in this cloud now. Trying to leave some of the blue. I'm not going completely over it. Okay, so I've got that one. And then coming out of the side is this one. And it kind of goes like this. And then it gets quite skinny, actually. Actually, I might be too far up. I think that goes like that. And then this is the one that goes underneath it across. But this comes around, and then it's very dark there. And there's one little dark part there. So that's what we got. We're still getting soft edges, but I think it is a bit dry. So this goes around like this. It's quite dark down there. Okay. So let's go to our next layer of color. I'm going to add in the anthraquinone, or you can start adding your ultramarine. Either one is good. We have some darker parts along there. Has a bit of a hole in the middle, but there's darker spots coming out towards there. Okay. And then we have, this kind of has a shape to it, like that. Okay, so that's still that part of it. And this one's quite dark here. We will add another layer of dark to these little ones here. And if you've gone too far and you want to scrape out something, you can just do that with a synthetic brush. And that will help scrape it out. You'll see my pencil marks are kind of showing already. Okay, so now let's go down and put some of these darks in. So I want this part here to have lots of dark. Kind of comes out like that in a way. Okay, and then this part is dark underneath. This part comes out kind of like that. And it's quite dark underneath. Okay, that one is fairly light still. This is a bit dark as it goes across there. This is a bit dark here. Maybe up into here. I just want to get rid of some of these pencil mark lines so I know that I've gotten rid of them by just going over top of them. Okay. Okay, that's actually pretty light. So now we're going to have to get our paint thicker. Otherwise it's going to spread too much. So I'm going to mix again my ultramarine. And use my mixing brush for this. So my ultramarine and my burnt sienna. And I want that to be a fairly dark mixture. I'm going to add a little anthraquinone to that. It's thick, it's sticking to the palette, that's what I want. And actually I'm going to use this brush to apply it because my big brush will probably hold too much paint. So I'm going in with even darker along here, darker here. This shape isn't really there, but I seem to have made it. Darker underneath here. Some bits of dark in that. Just to go like that. And then we have the dark here. And keeping these edges as soft as I can. Okay, there's some dark here. And this part kind of sticks out like that. Really lightly touching the paper to do this. I'm just going to make this part of it, even though it's not in the original picture. No use having it sit there with nothing to do. Okay. So we seem to be getting there. The other thing I wouldn't mind doing is I want to add a little bit of purple to this because it just warms it up a bit. I'm making sure my purple is fairly thick as well. We don't want a real watery mixture of this. And I'm just going to put it in a few spots here. Okay. Join those two. And this one doesn't really look like it's joined, so we'll do that. Okay, and there's a distinctive line between these two. And if it's too purple somewhere, just go back in with that dark. And you can also go in with the light gray. Because that looked a little bit too purple to me. I just want a hint of the purple. And now I want to make sure my final, oops, I did not want to do that. Okay, I want to make sure my final mixture of ultramarine and burnt sienna is a really thick mixture. I'm making this one almost cream. Okay, and same with this one. It needs kind of a bottom to it. So does this one. This one kind of defines that cloud. So I wanted to do a better job of that. Might have been too dark there. Okay. I'm going to have to soften that. That's all right. And I just wanted to soften these a little bit. Almost dry brush, putting those on. Okay. And this part here, yeah. Okay. Really dry out your brush to do this. I think that's all right. Let's just soften this edge here. It's a bit rough. There. And we'll just extend this a bit up in here. Okay. And then there is some further there's a bit of dark that I missed because this goes out and almost joins the other one. This side of it is quite dark. Okay, this I kind of made up. Okay, and we're going to have some more dark down in here. And I think we have to get rid of the way that this is going over here. Don't really like it. In the picture, this kind of fades into that. So something like that might help. Okay. Right. And then we want this to extend a bit over here. Kind of join those together. I'm getting a lot of dry brush now because the paper is dry. So just gonna give it a squirt. Spritz. Let's try to get that off of there, the dry brush marks. Soften them out a bit. Same with here. Soften it out. I think that's okay. Not sure if I like the purple, but we probably can't fuss with it anymore. On the ground, there is a bright, bright green, which I guess is the mountains or something. And then there's some water going through that. In order to make our bright green, we already have some ultramarine and cobalt that we can work with. Let's just add some green to our ultramarine. That's not a vibrant green, but it's not a bad green. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the yellow in, and then I'm going to put the green in on top of that. That will create a nice vibrant green. And then back here, kind of goes like that. I can put a bit more blue here and there into that green. And then it goes down like this. Now they have, the way I drew this, I'm going to have to make my river. He has his going off the page this way. I guess we could do that. See if we can. Green is a very staining color though. But as long as we get those darks in, we should be okay with this. So I think that's kind of the way you get it. And then I'm going to take the dark and I'm going to apply that here. That's the dark mix I had. Okay. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to switch to a skinnier brush. Need to mix up a bit more dark here. Or you could use a neutral tint here if you want to get it nice and dark. Okay, so now it looks a little bit like a landmass. And then same thing over here. This is actually almost like a mountain is here. So there's the mountain. And then this side is quite dark. This here is bleeding up. So I can wipe that out. Okay. I could straighten out this line too. But the yellow may still bleed up. And then I really have to darken this area over here so that the mountain looks like it's above the clouds. Let's make it shaped like that and like that. Something like that. Don't mind a bit of this green showing through. I think that's nice. And then same with the other side. As you get closer to the front, it really is quite black. So when you do this, when you copy a master study, it is a great learning opportunity because you're trying to figure out how did they paint this, and you learn a lot by doing that. Okay, I'm going to put a bit more green back into here, darker green. Mix that with my dark. Okay, I think that's not bad. I could have another mountain over here though. Let's have this be mountainous as well. Okay. Probably not the best shape here, but something interesting. I like that little bit of white showing, but trying to get the right shape. Sometimes it helps to add another shape in there, and then it might, I guess I'm gonna have to get rid of that white. Yeah, add some texture. And I think we're done. That's our imitation of Vincente Fuentes.